Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching the second part of Season 2 of Baki Hanma. More specifically, it's a season of two arcs. One of Retsu Kaioh and him managing to become a champion boxer despite only having one leg, and of course the final battle between Baki Hanma and his father Yujiro. Or honestly, what should have been the final battle of the series, considering I've heard that the manga continues after this point. But it might be the end of the anime, so who knows, unless they decide to announce another series. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story basically follows after the events of the Pickle saga, where Retsu Kaioh happens to enter a gym and decides to become a boxer while not really abiding to the typical boxing training methods. You know, shadow boxing, jumping rope, that sort of thing. He manages to combine his knowledge of Kung Fu with his newfound knowledge of boxing to basically overwhelm a lot of major competitors who are based off of guys like Manny Pacquiao and even Joe Frazier. Yes, the Joe Frazier, one of Muhammad Ali's greatest rivals. Yes, his name is Smoking Joe Crazier, but we know who he is supposed to be based on. That's the funny thing with Baki. There's so many characters who are based off of real life athletes to the point where even their names are direct references. Even the promoter who ends up with Retsukayo was named Kaiser, and his mannerisms and his dress sense are almost exact copies of Don King. Even the name Kaiser could be a reference to that. But of course, while Retsu's fights are fun and they do provide some good knowledge of boxing for those who want to know if Keisuke Dagaki knows that much about the sport, the real big draw here is Baki's battle with Yujiro, considering that's the one major storyline that the series has had since the very beginning. Baki becoming as strong as possible to take on his father, who's the strongest man in the world. But the fight is certainly bizarre even by Baki standards, basically combining every major technique that Baki's learned throughout the series, from running at his opponents like a cockroach to him imitating a triceratops to the hand pocket to the whip strike. If you've been following the series and all the techniques that Baki's learned against his various enemies, he uses basically all of them against Yujiro, and Yujiro, as you'd expect, he basically just no-sells most of his offense and delivers devastating attack after devastating attack. So Baki is basically the underdog for the majority of the fight, just like his last fight with Yujiro. But he actually does manage to get some good shots in, and the fact remains that it becomes such an epic fight that not only is there a massive crowd that surrounds them, not only are there people watching on TV and on the internet in universe, not only is there like this giant glyph that explorers are looking at that have these two demons fighting each other and people watching that supposedly represent Yujiro and Baki. Not only do we get to see Yujiro's father as well, Yuichiro Hanma at one point, but the ending of the fight is so crazy, but at the same time so fitting, to the point where I actually don't really mind how the fight ends up, because some people did have a problem with how the fight ended up when it comes to who the winner ultimately is. But in my opinion, I really appreciate that the series manages to out crazy itself at this point. That it is so unrealistic, so bizarre, and so out of this world insane, to the point where you just have to enjoy the madness when it comes to it. If you want more realistic fights, or at least realistic by anime standards, and want some more decisive victories, go watch Kengan Ashura. But if you want something that makes you just marvel at the insanity of the original author, I'll just pick up Baki. Though, like I said, I do hope that this is the last season, considering that after the father and son battle is over, I don't think there's anywhere left to go for the series. I mean, where do you go after you have a caveman added to the mix? But for this season, all 27 episodes, I'd say, I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. See you next time.